Coming. All right.
We're live on YouTube now.
We are live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube-verse, YouTube universe. So, welcome aboard. And we're glad that everybody's here live and in person on Zoom, as well as live and in person on YouTube. Or if you're watching it later, hopefully this will be a very enlightening and exciting conversation. The title was How to Raise Your Child's Self-Esteem. Is that correct? Raising my children's self-esteem. Now, I'm going to preempt this whole conversation by asking you, if I remember correctly, you saying self-esteem is a misunderstood concept altogether, and it's highly overrated. So maybe we should back up for a second before we ask, how do I raise my child's self-esteem? Let's ask the question, is self-esteem the right thing to be raising in my child? Or are there better, different, more fundamentally important qualities that I really should be focusing rather than self-esteem in making my child into a mensch?
Well, first of all, let's not treat it like a universal issue. In other words, every child needs to have their self-esteem raised. No children have a healthy self-esteem already. The real question is, what should we be careful of to make sure that we don't destroy a child's self-esteem? You shouldn't have to raise it. It should come natural. Like children being happy. How do you make children happy? That's a terrible question, because you're assuming that children are not happy. Children are the happiest people in the world. They should be. So if a child is not happy, who did this? What did this? Same is true with self-esteem. It shouldn't need help. It should come natural. So really the question is, what happens that ruins children's self-esteem? And then you got to fix it. And then you got to make an issue out of it, which is not the best thing in the world. So let's just try a simple example. We have a beautiful custom that when a couple get married, the woman lights 2 candles for Shabbos. One for her and one for her husband. But then, with each child that is born, you add another candle. So every child knows that they brought more light. They added another candle to the life of their parents. That's all the self-esteem you need. You don't have to convince yourself that you're the greatest kid in town, or the smartest kid in class, or the most athletic kid on the playground. That's not self-esteem, that's arrogance. Oh, okay, that's a good question. What is the difference between self-esteem and arrogance? Arrogance is a terrible characteristic. Self-esteem is healthy. Nothing more than that. It's not a noble achievement. It's not a great spiritual high level of existence. It's simply healthy. Self-esteem should be natural, and you shouldn't ever have to worry about it, think about it, or talk about it. So it's like asking, how do we keep our kids healthy? What does healthy mean? You never have to talk about it. You don't talk about a kid's tonsils unless they're creating problems. You certainly don't talk about a kid's liver. But the liver is there, doing its job, functioning fine. No need to talk about it. So I think that's what you're referring to, that self-esteem is a little overrated. It's not a big accomplishment. It's supposed to be natural. So where does it come from? Well, it comes from the enthusiasm for life, which every child has, unless something deprives him of it. So should we talk about things that take away your self-image or ruin it? Let's assume every human being is born happy to be alive. You don't know yet the difficulties that life is going to throw at you. So when you're born, you're happy to be born. You're enthusiastic about your life. That's healthy. That's good self-esteem. That's a well-balanced, healthy individual. Then what happens? All of a sudden you see an unhappy child. What happened? It really is not true to say, well, the child had a bad experience and now he doesn't like himself anymore. Don't like yourself anymore. That's almost humanly impossible. Everyone has a survival instinct that is devoted to taking care of yourself. If that's not love, I don't know what is. So I was talking to a girl who says, I hate myself, I want to die. I said, last night when you were deep asleep, did you accidentally roll off your bed and fall down? She says, no. I said, how come? You sleep on a narrow bed, you toss and turn all night. How come you didn't fall off the bed? Because even while you're asleep, you're looking out for yourself. When you get to the edge of the bed, you don't go any further, or it wakes you up. So what happens when a kid hates himself? The attention and the enthusiasm for life is all channeled into negativity. I have such problems. I am so unhappy. I am so miserable. But it's still all about me. And I don't accept being miserable because I deserve better. So I can be down on myself. I can beat myself up, but I'm busy with myself because I'm still precious. So bad self-image or low self-image and high self-image may be the same coin, just the two different sides. What we really want to do is avoid a low self-image and not bother with a high self-image. What we really want is a child who does not need to think about themselves, herself or himself, for more than 10 minutes a day. Doesn't need to. He's busy, he's got a life, he's doing stuff, he's having a fun time. Why does he have to think about himself? Unless somebody has made him hyper conscious, hyper aware of himself and his status and whether he fits into the classroom, whether he's popular or not, whether his father or mother really like him. Who did this? You don't need to think about yourself when you're happy. Happy kids don't run around saying, I'm so happy. They're not self-conscious, and that is the best self. Not high, not low, not positive, not negative, just not an issue. As soon as it becomes an issue, it's trouble. Like this guy who walks up to me, random, never met the guy before. He just walks up to me with a straight face, serious. He says, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "Sure." He says, "I was wondering, do you sleep with your beard on top of the blanket or with the beard under the blanket?" I thought, oh, that was very funny, cute. Couldn't sleep for a week. I tried it on the blanket, under the blanket. I don't know. Something completely natural. You become self-conscious. And all of a sudden, it doesn't work. So let's not make our children self-conscious. They don't need it. They're doing fine. Adults have an issue, but don't inflict it on your children. It was a long answer to a short question.
Well, adults have issues. Is there a way to help a child as a child develop a healthy self-image so that when they grow up, it's easier?
Of course. But again, healthy self-image means a self that doesn't need attention. Or as we call it, some people are very high maintenance because their self demands attention, positive or negative. You know, that guy said, call me names, criticize me, tell me I'm terrible, but talk about me. Don't ignore me.
So, parents with the best of intentions, what are some typical mistakes that parents are doing that lead to a child focusing on self?
Okay. Anyone who knows anything about child raising knows that when a child misbehaves, you do not tell the child, you are destructive, you are evil, you are the devil. We never say that. Everybody knows that. What you did was wrong, but not you. That's good. That's sensible. It's nice. But we're not consistent. What happens when your child does something wonderful? Do you follow the same principle? Do you say what you did was wonderful, or do you say you're an angel? You're such a delightful, you're the best kid. I can't find enough compliments. It's not consistent. Don't make the child self-conscious. When the child does something bad, tell him it's bad. When he does something good, tell him it's good. What about the child? Child's a child. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad, sometimes he's fun, sometimes not. Don't put the focus on the child. It's like people who are getting into learning about Judaism. They say, are you kosher? I'm thinking of going kosher. Are you kosher? Am I kosher? I didn't know I was on the food chain. No, I am not kosher. I hope my kitchen's kosher. I hope the restaurant I eat in is kosher. Am I kosher? I'm not the food. I'm not the issue. Is it kosher? That's a good question. So, to not add burden, self-awareness, self-consciousness, which is a terrible curse. I mean, look at kids who are hypersensitive, so self-conscious. They don't know how to sit. Am I sitting right? Is this good? Should I turn like this? Should I turn like that? How do I hold my hands? Should I hold my hands in front of me, behind me, on top of me? Which? And then they try to speak and they can't. Because all eyes are on them. Now what's going to happen? So when a child becomes self-conscious, it ruins the whole existence. Everything becomes uncomfortable, burdensome, stressful. Children should never have that kind of anxiety.
There's a guy here in Birmingham who knows one Yiddish word. He's very proud of it because his parents or his somebody used to always call him tzaddikel. Tzaddikel, tzaddikel, that's it. He's a tzaddikel. Everything he did, he was a tzaddikel. That was traditional.
Not everything we do is tradition. Some things we do are just bad habits. It's not a good idea. First of all, it cheapens the whole concept of a tzaddik. What do you mean a tzaddikel? A little bit of a tzaddik. Other than that, pretty much a sinner. What are you saying? No, don't cheapen the word, and don't make the child. You see, we think that complimenting children and telling them that we love them is healthy. It may not be. We want the children to know that we love them unconditionally, and then every day we give them conditions. You're so smart. You're so capable. You're so beautiful. The child hears that as a condition, not as a compliment. It's like, I love you, you're so cute. Oh, you mean I better remain cute, otherwise. The child sees it as a condition. It's not comfortable. We know we don't want to burden children with unrealistic expectations. You tell him that you think he's a tzaddik. That's not an unrealistic expectation. So you're saying it kind of tongue in cheek. Kids don't get it. You keep saying tzaddik. You keep saying you're an angel. You keep saying you're the best. Well, what if I'm not? You've burdened the child. So be careful with your compliments. Here again, a child does something very well, just say, that was well done. You did that very well. Don't say you're the best and the greatest. I simply say, don't exaggerate. Kid did well. Say, yeah, you did well. Because that's all that happened. He didn't suddenly become the greatest, the best, and the smartest. So I don't know why we feel a need to exaggerate. Again, are we assuming that every child is suffering in their self-respect and self-image? They're not suffering.
No, we tend to speak to children in exaggerations about everything.
That is not healthy at all.
If you eat the spinach, you'll be as tall as.
So what happens is children learn very quickly to not take you seriously when you want to be serious.
So just to clarify, misplaced or exaggerated compliments is one thing, but we do want the children to know that we love them. Correct?
But don't make it sound like a condition.
Right.
You're welcome to live in my house as long as I love you. So be careful. Watch your step.
Well, and you said it that way again. You're welcome to live in my house as long as I love you. Well, what's the correct statement? Even when I don't love you, you're still welcome?
Absolutely.
Is that what we want a child to hear?
Actually, if there is something that we need to impress on our children, it's not how much we love them, it's how much we need them. Children don't need to be loved. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Children don't need to be loved. Children need to be needed. There was this kid who was suicidal because he didn't think he was necessary at all. And his minister, counseling him, said to him, "You should not kill yourself because God loves you." And the kid said, "That's stupid." Of course, kids say that about everything. But he was right. The kid was right. Being suicidal because you don't think you're necessary is a very loud statement. To come along and tell the child, no, you shouldn't kill yourself. God loves you. You know what the child heard? And he heard it correctly. It's as if you say to the child, "You're right, you're not necessary. But God loves you, so hang around and let him love you." The kid says, "That's stupid." What he meant by that is, I'm not a gerbil. A gerbil isn't necessary, but lovable. You tell the gerbil, "I love you," gerbil is happy. You tell a child, "I love you," but you never told him how necessary he is, doesn't work. You can't smear love on an unnecessary being. So the boy was thinking, God loves me? What's wrong with him? I'm not even necessary. And I don't want to be his plaything. Isn't that brilliant? So when I heard that, I learned this really important lesson. We need to be needed much more than we need to be loved. Love is the icing on the cake. To be needed, that's life. Look, if I'm not necessary, no amount of love is going to make up for it. A human being has deeper needs than love. The deeper need is to be needed, to be necessary, to be indispensable. So the child has to know that no matter how many children there are, by the way, and you can testify to that, no matter how many children there are in the family, every child is essential, indispensable, and absolutely necessary. Because without that child, the whole family will fall apart. Do I love you? Not right now.
What does that mean? How does a child hear the word necessary? I need you? I need you for what? For tax purposes?
If only. You don't have to say it. In fact, if you feel like you need to say it, then something's already wrong. It has to express itself in everything. The way you pay attention, the way you look around and where's Johnny? What's the difference? He's somewhere. What do you mean? Huh?
I hate when that happens. Forgot somebody.
Yeah. So the fact that you're always on your parents' mind, that means you're necessary. You're not an occasional fun experience, you're indispensable. Lighting a candle. And you tell the child, this candle is for you.
You know, Rick Lavoie talks about poker chips, right? The child needs a certain amount to and so he makes the point that parents are responsible to build up the child's self-esteem, whatever we want to call it, because out there, outside the safety of the home, there are people who are tearing him down.
Right, so it's remedial. How do you fix the damage? Well, we're talking about how to raise a child undamaged.
And how to build up an armor or thick skin or positive self-awareness that it won't be damaged.
That's right. That's right. So first, let's get the priorities right. The first thing a child needs, according to modern psychology, is security, not love. Telling a 1-year-old that you love him means absolutely nothing to the 1-year-old. Yeah, whatever. And then you train him to say, and I love you. He doesn't know what he's saying, and he doesn't care, and just leave me alone and let me go play. Love means nothing to a 1-year-old. Security, everything. Everything. So holding a child to show your love, you're messing things up. You cuddle a child to give security, not love. Because that's what the child needs. Of course, you may love the child, but are you thinking about yourself or are you thinking about the child? So holding a child, cuddling a child, hugging a child, that gives security to a very young child. And that's the basis. That's the foundation on which the entire life of that child is going to be built. The more solid the foundation, the more secure the child feels, the healthier he's going to be no matter what experiences he has. If there's a little shakiness to the foundation, then every challenge will be overwhelming. I mean, it's a scary thought, but the habit of the nurses or the doctors whisking the child immediately after birth into the other room to weigh it and wash it and test it, and that leaves a child afraid of life. That sudden total separation from the mother, which by the way is completely unnecessary, it's not good. Mother has to hold the child has to be near the mother, at least for a half hour, an hour, before you separate the child from the mother. So we really have to take seriously the foundations of the child's existence. The first thing, security, absolute security.
I think that they're catching up to you because I think that the current, at least in many places, the current way of doing it is that the mother holds the baby for a while at the bed right away, and
yes, and they don't cut the umbilical cord instantly. The child has been traumatized enough. Don't add more trauma. And in general, the birth trauma is not treated. It's ignored. Yeah, the baby's fine. He's breathing. He's pink. He's great. The child just went through a terrifying experience. You think maybe a little therapy and counseling is in order? we have to compensate for the frightening experience by giving total security. let's not get into every issue that I worry about, but when a baby cries, the experts say, let him cry. He'll fall asleep. It's good for his lungs. You hear a baby crying, not for 5 minutes, for 20 minutes, for a half hour. The baby is becoming hysterical. The baby is panicking. Parents, let him cry. This is not good. The child gets a very distinct impression that life stinks. Shouldn't do that. What the child needs is not healthier lungs, or to know that he's not going to get attention every time he wants it. That's not the lesson a baby needs to learn. The baby needs to learn that life is safe, that being home is safe, that your mother is your security. But if she's sitting right there, 5 feet from the crib, and will not pick you up when you're hysterical, that is not a good message. So we got to rethink a little bit the issues. What's most important for a child? What's most important for an adolescent? What's not so important? The conventional wisdom is love is the solution for everything. If you love your child, everything will be wonderful. And if you love your spouse, you'll be married forever. Not really. Respect between parents, mutual respect, will keep a marriage together far more than love will. Because love is a condition. I want you in my life because I love you. If I don't love you, I don't want you in my life.
No, that kind of condition.
Yeah.
Love is a condition.
Yeah.
So a baby,
not a chronic condition.
a baby needs to feel secure, from being abandoned or not being dropped, being warm and fed. An older child needs to know that, writing on the wall does not get him banished, and right, security from. But as the child gets older, security means different things. Security means even when I had a bad day in school, I come home and I'm safe. Is that self-esteem?
He doesn't need to worry about his self-esteem.
Because he has it.
Because his life is good.
So how does a parent do that?
By providing the security. Here's what I was leading up to. In another way of saying secure is necessary. I am needed. I'm indispensable. That makes me secure. If I'm not necessary, then I'm just waiting for somebody to dump me in the dumpster. How secure is that? So security and being needed is very closely related. Unconditional love is terrifying. Unconditional love means no matter what I do, no matter how I behave, no matter what I say to you, or no matter how I treat you, you will love me. That means I don't matter. Doesn't matter what I do, what I say, what I think, what I am. I am not important. Love is important. Well, go love somebody else. If you try to convince your child that you love them unconditionally, don't be surprised if the child suddenly starts to act out. Just to get you to admit that you don't always love him. Notice me. Look at me. I'm acting atrociously. What do you mean you love me? Can I get you to react to me? So unconditional love is a fiction. It's not nice. A mother should say to the child, you are mine and I am yours. I am your mother forever, unconditionally. You know how unconditionally I am devoted to you? I am your mother even when I hate you. And right now, I happen to hate you. And you're no less my child, and I am no less your mother. See, a fact can be unconditional. A fact should be unconditional. Otherwise, it's not a fact. Emotions should never be unconditional. How you feel about me can be decided today, and then no matter what I do tomorrow, it's not going to change. This is not even human. So we really have to get back to some basics. Love is not the solution to every problem, and the absence of love is not the cause of every problem. We got to stop worshiping love, the love goddess. Oh, your kid is having problems? You got to love your child. Oh, I do. No, you have to really love him. I really do. No, you have to love him more. I love him a lot. Well, not enough. Okay, now the whole family is crazy. What am I supposed to do? I love my kid. Not enough? What do I do? The only thing left to do is to become permissive and spoil the kid rotten. Now I really got a problem. So where are we going with this? How all right, here's the good news. All this is bad news. Now the good news. The strongest child, the healthiest child, the most solid self-image is the child who knows what he's not allowed to do. There's nothing stronger than that. There is no healthier self-esteem than a child who can say to his friends, no, my parents do not allow me to experiment with drugs. And so I can't. That's my line. That's my border. That's me. Does that make me smarter? I don't know, but I don't go there. I don't go there. That is the healthiest child. Because it's not an ego definition. It's a moral definition. I don't do that. There's nothing healthier. The child who knows right from wrong stands firm. Will not be easily influenced, will not be easily confused, and will not wonder, who am I? What am I here for? What am I doing? He knows. He's committed to doing good things, and he is pledged to avoid what is bad. You don't even need your ego. See, the alternative is, we don't know right from wrong. A child doesn't know up from down, but he's told to be the best. To be the best at sports, at whatever. In other words, his defense, his armor is his ego. Child is so happy because his parents think he's the greatest, the smartest, the most talented, the nicest, the best looking. So there's this girl walking around. She's 11 years old. She is very cute. Her parents think she's gorgeous. They take pictures of her all the time. She walks down the street. She is so proud, so comfortable, such a good self-image. And then a new kid comes to town, much better looking. Now what? If you depend on your ego to make you secure and comfortable, to make you proud and have a good self-image, you're just waiting for the shoe to fall. Somebody's going to come along and make you look so ordinary by comparison. Somebody's going to come along and be able to play football so much better than you. Now what? So ego pride is insecure. You always worry in the back of your mind, what if somebody outdoes me? What if my parents change their mind and think I'm ugly? So where should a child get their spine, their posture? From the security of knowing where I go and where I don't go, what I do and what I don't do. I know where I stand. There's no competition to that. No one is going to come along and outdo me. Somebody comes along and has a different set of values or a different religion, fine. What's the problem? It's awesome when a 9-year-old child can walk into a candy store and pick up a candy bar and read the ingredients to see if it's kosher. And if it's not kosher, he puts it back and leaves the store without a candy. Adults can't do that. If you've raised your child with good values, strong values, the kids are bullying somebody. If you walk away, you look like the wimp. You're going to walk away? Are you going to say, I'm not doing this, and walk away? If you can, you're a healthy kid. No one needs to worry about your self-image. If you can't, it's not your self-image that is the problem. It's your morals. Is this making sense?
So
it's not conventional thinking. I know that.
Right. No, but let's back up a step. I think that, as you say, the word love has been abused, but maybe unintentionally. I imagine, I don't know, a scene where the mother goes to visit her son, the bank robber, in jail. And he says, why have you come? Right? Aren't you disappointed in me? And that's where she says, I'm your mother. Now, the sentence should have ended there. But the writers added the words, I love you. But maybe because they didn't have a better word. I'm your mother. So what?
There's the rub.
Right?
Saying I'm your mother doesn't mean anything. How did that happen?
So we're trying to convey, instead of it's because I love you, no, it's because I'm your mother. I'm here because you are my child. I am your father, and that's all you need to know. But how do you say that to a child? How do you teach a young child that that is the reality?
Why do you need to say that? Look at the flip side. My son, the bank robber, is in jail, and I don't go to visit him. And my son, the bank robber, is thinking, they're saying, what kind of father is this? What kind of mother is this that doesn't come to visit me? He doesn't say, don't you love me? He doesn't expect to be loved. He's a bank robber who got caught. If he was at least successful. So he's not expecting love. But my own mother didn't come see me? Oh, so you do know what a mother is, right? A mother doesn't come to visit her child? You do know. Now you know. When it's missing, then you realize what it is.
So somehow our grandparents knew how to do that.
Yes.
So, like, for example, punishing. You could discipline a child without the child feeling like we're divorcing the child. How do we do that? How do we be a parent and be a parent?
When a mother says, not now. Not now. It's my time. It's my time. I am taking a break from being a mother right now. So no, you can't talk to me now. I've given you plenty of hours on the day that I was your mother. Now, no. Never say that. Ever, ever, ever. What you say to your child is, no, not now. Your mother is tired. Not retired. I am your mother who happens to be very tired. So right now I'm going to sleep. Or right now I'm going to have a drink and relax. But I'm not taking a break from being your mother.
Okay. So what about the words that we need when a child does face challenges and I don't want to call it the child damage, God forbid, but damaging circumstances, cyberbullying, um, divorce. I don't know. There are a lot of parts in life that really challenge a child's conviction that the parents are there for him. So what does a parent say or do?
What is the difference between a parent and a local adult? The child's in the park and he's throwing sand at another kid's face. The adult who happens to be sitting there says, stop that. It's not nice. Or the mother says it. What's the difference? What would be the difference between the mother saying it and an adult saying it? Children are allergic to adults. They don't see eye to eye. Children are not allergic to their parents. The difference, when an adult says, stop that, he's rejecting you and your behavior. You're a bad kid. You shouldn't be in this neighborhood. When a mother says, stop it, it's not just because throwing sand in a child's face is not nice, but because you have to be more sensitive, the child. The mother wants the child to be a better person. So it's not just the act. It's like, where's your sensitivity? How can you be so cruel? The child knows that to the parents, it's personal. To the adult, you're just an annoyance. One of the ways that communicates itself is if you're in the park and your child throws sand at another kid's face, you ignore it. You're not going to referee every fight. You ignore it. You make like you didn't see it. But the next day, at the table, at dinner time, You say to your child, remember yesterday when you were at the park and you threw sand in the kid's face? Why would you do that? Your child is going to be stunned. Not upset. He won't feel rejected. He won't feel abused. You've been thinking about that since yesterday? I forgot about it. You've been thinking about that since yesterday. Only a mother would do that. Now you know what a mother is. If parents would choose the right setting for their moral lessons, for their instructions, for their criticism, choose the setting like you choose a setting for a diamond. You're not going to stick it in just any ring. An adult will. When the adult is annoyed, he'll just say whatever comes to mind. Or do whatever comes to mind and slap the kid. It's not premeditated. An adult makes children uncomfortable. But a parent, if you wait, don't discipline when you catch them red-handed. Wait for the right setting. And the right setting is when the kid is listening. If he's not listening, who are you talking to? So when the kid is having a tantrum and you're trying to reason with him, who are you talking to? The kid has tuned you out. So don't waste a really good lesson on a child who isn't listening. Save it. The next day is pretty powerful. 2 days later, wow. The next week, see, the problem is next week you won't remember. When you're not upset, you forget. But that's not called raising a child. If you just react to what a child does, that's not raising a child. That's being a victim of the child. The child can push your buttons, get you upset, make you happy, switch it from one to the other every 10 minutes, and you're a yo-yo. They play you. That's not called raising children. That's called being abused by your kids. Raising children means you think today what you should tell them tomorrow. Only a parent does that, or a very good mentor. That tells the child that he's indispensable. You've been thinking about the child and something the child did for 3 days. No adult would do that. So I had this experience, which is like you can't make this stuff up. It's like I get a phone call from a guy in Israel. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. He just needs to talk to somebody because his 12-year-old daughter, a very nice, healthy, intelligent girl, got it into her head that God is angry at her. And she's miserable. They went for therapy. They went to famous rabbis. They went to Kabbalists, tried some mystical healings. Nothing's helping. So without asking and without warning me, he says, here, talk to her. And he puts her on the phone. Hate when that happens. Anyway, so I said to her, God is angry at you? She says, yeah. I said, I'm so jealous. She says, what? I said, I'm jealous. You're 12 years old And you can get God angry? How did you become so important? Her problem was over.
Because it's true.
Yeah, I'm not denying what she's feeling. I'm just telling her that it's not bad news, it's good news. I wish God was angry at me because it's such a compliment. The creator of the entire universe noticed that you did something bad. Why would he notice you? And not only did he notice, it upset him. So what you do is that important? Not only that, it was weeks ago. He's still angry at you. Boy, how important are you? Where did you get to be so significant? So even if your mother is angry at you, you love it. Because she thought about it, it's on her mind. She waited to tell you when you were in a good mood. Who does that? Who else finds you that important? Only your creator and your parents. Hopefully your spouse.
But I'm still struggling with how to convey that to my child. When I discipline the child in the right way, hopefully that message comes through. I mean, I'm gathering my children around the Shabbos candles this Friday afternoon, saying, "This is you, this is you, this is you." But what can parents do that really brings that message to a child who might be wondering?
If you do that with the candles, don't identify which candle is whose.
In case it falls.
In case it goes out, you freaked out about it. So no, just say one for you, one for you, one for you. Or you start a competition. My candle holder is nicer than your candle holder. What I'm trying to say is that you don't have to say it. If you feel it, if you appreciate it, it'll convey itself in everything you do.
Can you feel it loudly?
Yes.
In everything you do.
Yeah, some people fuss over their kids more. So here's the point of the whole thing. If you want your child to have a healthy spine, to have a healthy self-description, give him a healthy moral code, and make sure that the child owns it. These are my morals, not what my mother wants. This is what I am. This is what I should or shouldn't do. Then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about him being bullied. You don't have to worry about his self-image. You don't have to worry about his enthusiasm or grip on life. It's going to be good. Not only in health, but morally good, which may be even more important. So how do you make a child secure and comfortable in their own skin? Tell them what life is all about. Tell them right from wrong. Tell them what God needs you to tell them. And God is not into pop psychology. There is no psychology in the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not. Yeah, but according to my astrological signs, I'm the type that, no. thou shalt not. That's what gives you
Model it.
strength. Huh?
And the parent has to model it as well.
There's a beautiful story of the previous Rebbe. He was an only child. And of course, he succeeded his father and became the Rebbe after him. But he was a child. Everybody starts off being a child. His father lived under the Tsar and was constantly at war with the Tsar, trying to get foreign influences to stop the pogroms and the discrimination against Jews and the Pale of Settlement and all the things that Jews were suffering from. So his father was often out of the country. So he writes in his diary, which he began writing when he was 9 years old. He says, all the children went to shul with their fathers. I went by myself. It was painful. Then his father stopped traveling as much and devoted himself to the education of his son. And now the Rebbe writes in his diary, my father's attention, my father's presence, my father's devotion to my education has erased all the pain of those dark years. You know, those years when I was 6. Anyway, all of a sudden, his father asks him to consult with his teacher as to whether it would be a good idea for him to go with his parents for the weekend to their dacha. So he goes and he asks his teacher, and the teacher said, no, we're at a very important piece of the lessons. If you miss it, it won't be good. No, you shouldn't go. Comes back and he tells his father that his teacher said that he shouldn't go. His father said, I agree. And so plans were made for his mother and father to go off for the weekend to the dacha, and he's going to stay home with his grandmother. He felt terrible. Now, finally, he's getting his father's attention, and it's being interrupted again. And he found himself crying. But then he thought to himself, this teacher I have this year, he's my favorite teacher. I love this teacher. He says I shouldn't go. My father is a Rebbe. He knows what's best for everyone who comes to ask his advice. Certainly knows what's best for me. And my mother, I'm her only child. And she thinks I should stay. What am I crying about? He stopped crying and he resolved to study better during that weekend than ever before. I remember reading that story when I was a teenager. And it bothered me. I was a teenager. The Rebbe writing the story was a child, 7 years old. I said, whoa, this is not fair. How does somebody get to be that mature at 7 years old? So I went to ask my mashpia. I know he grew up to be a tzaddik. He was destined to be a Rebbe. All right, but he was 7. Where do you get that kind of maturity? My mentor, my mashpia, said, if I tell you, it would ruin the whole thing. Figure it out. Such a good answer. Figure it out. We should say to every parent, you want to know how to make your child healthy? Make him mature like this story. How? Figure it out. What does it take to make a child that mature? Maybe not that mature, okay? Let's not get too ambitious. Figure it out. It's not rocket science. It's your kid. Take a good look, think about it, and you will come up with the answer.
Yikes. Figure it out was not the answer I was looking for.
Well, we spoke about many practical things, but
Right. Right. So now we got to go back and watch it again. Yeah.
One other thing. You must teach your child to respect you. This is not negotiable. A parent who feels, no, I don't need the respect. Yeah, it's okay. You can call me by my first name. Let's be buddies. Don't do that. And by the way, never call your son buddy. Because he knows you forgot his name. You're not fooling anybody. Don't call him buddy. Be a father. You're the only one he has. And be a mother. No, your child may not refer to you by your first name. Address you by your first name. They may not even refer to you as a he or a she. It's mom and dad. Your friend is a he or a she. Don't sit in your father's chair. Don't sit in your mother's chair. Get up from the table and bring something for your parents. Don't ask them to get up from the table and serve you. If we don't follow the outline, the borders, the definition of what it means to be someone's child and what it means to be someone's parent, it's all a big mishmash. Yeah, you say what you want, do what you want, come when you like, leave when you like. You don't feel like anybody's son or daughter. You don't feel like you even have a parent. Honoring your parents, it's indispensable to the child. So maybe you don't need to be honored. That's nice. But the child needs to honor you. Otherwise, doesn't have a low self-image. He has no self-image. He doesn't know who he is. Even therapists should do this. The beginning of all therapy for children, stop sitting in your father's chair. Just at least that. So that you know you have a father. And if you have a father, it means you're somebody's son. Now you know who you are? That's solid. That's unconditional. That's real. Now you have a foundation to build your life on. What happens with an orphan? God forbid. God says, I step in and take the role of the father with an orphan. And I step in and take care of a widow. So nobody is ever alone. I have a God. I am his child. I am his people. I know who I am. That is so much stronger, healthier, more true than I'm the best. Everybody loves me. The next day, I'm so depressed, I'm suicidal. One final thing. Part of the security that a child has is the security of the home. If parents don't respect each other, the child starts to disintegrate. You take chunks out of him. That's the one thing Rick Lavoie doesn't mention, but he should. You didn't do anything to the child. The child left for school in the morning with his breakfast in a beautiful lunchbox. Yes, breakfast in a lunchbox. And with compliments. And the parents were just effusive with love. But as he was walking out the door, he heard his father raise his voice to his mother. His day is shot. His chips are gone, to use Rick Lavoie's language. He's out of chips. So when he comes home and you tell him that he is the prettiest and the smartest what are you doing? You want a child to feel secure in his nest, then make it a healthy nest. Coming home should be the safest, the most comfortable, the most natural, relaxing place, nurturing, without anyone having to say anything. I don't know if people still do this, but in the old television shows, and I remember finding it a little funny. A man walks into his house and he announces loudly, "I'm home." Now, what is that? I don't know if it's necessary to make that announcement, but to feel that, I'm home. What a relief. But if coming home gets on your nerves, if coming home means you're just going to face a lot of anxiety, this is not a home. Then you will not announce with such enthusiasm, "Hello, I'm home. You can come beat me up now." Home has got to be the safest place in the world. And because it's not for many people, and even at the age of college seniors, they need a room that is a safe place. You don't need a safe room if you have a home. Even if you're not there, you can always go home. And when you come home, I'm home. The world is good now. Life is wonderful. That's what home should feel like. That's what mom should feel like.
And part of that is maybe the announcement was to myself. I'm home. I leave everything else outside. Now I'm home.
That would be perfect. That's what you should think when you notice the mezuzah on the door. You're coming home to your safest place. The mezuzah is like a metal detector. It doesn't tolerate weapons. Cannot bring a weapon past this mezuzah. And the weapon could be harsh words. Leave it by the door. Don't walk past a mezuzah with evil intentions.
Well, Tati, thank you. Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you to everybody who helped make this possible. I get to sit in Alabama and have a face-to-face with my father in New York. There's something called the Inner Circle. Thank you to everybody who sponsored and will continue to sponsor. If anybody wants to give a donation, there should be a link in the chat box to do that, to make more of these happen. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And